Last night, a Nassau legislative committee approved the layoffs of hundreds of county workers unless they make significant concessions. Of the close to 6,000 Nassau County workers CSEA Local 830 represents, at least 300 of those workers tonight are fearing the loss of their jobs before year's end. Last night, a Nassau legislative committee turned up the heat on labor leaders to come up with $75 million worth of concessions by Thursday as they approved the layoffs of hundreds of county employees.
People are scared. They're fearful. They want to fight for their lives.
Ryan Mulholland, a representative of CSEA, says under County Executive Mangano's plan to get the county back on track financially, they already had to lay off 128 workers earlier this year, and now they are faced with having to do it all again. But this time, many more jobs are at risk. At least 300 of CSEA's workers would be demoted or lose their jobs entirely. Mulholland says they have negotiated close to a dozen times, but the county executive still wants their workers to give up more, close to $55 million in concessions, and he says that's just unattainable.
That's like $12,000 per employee. We have a lot of employees in this county making $30,000, $35,000 a year. We even have some people who work in social services who qualify for social services like food stamps and things like that.
Now, if $75 million worth of concessions aren't brought to the table by county unions by Thursday's deadline, that could mean the layoffs and demotions will take place as early as December 29th. So what is CSEA trying to do to avoid the cuts? They plan to offer an early retirement incentive package to hopefully persuade some of the highest earners to retire.
We would hope to get out, $15 million worth of people, $20 million worth of people to leave voluntarily.
Meanwhile, County Executive Mangano is already warning there will need to be yet another round of big cuts come February when he wants another $75 million in savings from workers. With the Nassau legislature layoff vote looming, one union is hoping that the vote will pass and that their employees won't get laid off.
There's still no deal, and as Monday's vote nears, Nassau County workers are anticipating the outcome. Whether County Executive Ed Mangano's plan will force CSEA workers to give up more, close to $55 million in concessions, and force hundreds to be demoted or even lose their jobs. Preparing for the worst, CSEA has created an incentive package that Ryan Mulholland says may help people without being forced to leave and ultimately save as many jobs as possible.
You could take an incentive for $1,000 for every single year that you have of service, and that would get people to leave voluntarily instead of be laid off.
In order for the vote to pass, Mulholland says the Democrats and Republicans need to come to an agreement. But the clock is ticking for CSEA members and union workers if cuts are made to departments that are already tight.
We have people from probation, public works, social services. Those are some of the titles and departments that would be hit the hardest from a potential layoff if it does go through on Monday.
Back in June, CSEA was faced with 128 layoffs. So if Monday's vote isn't passed, they say more than 350 layoffs can be made, which is potentially 6% of their workforce.
To make further cuts in areas such as social services, where there are mandated services that need to be provided to residents, such as Medicaid, food stamps, things like that. It's going to be very difficult to provide the services to the residents that our members do.
In Mineola, Jody Goldberg, TV 10 and 55 News.
And in order for the vote to pass, NYFA will also have to sign off.
Good afternoon to you. Welcome to Files One News Midday Edition. I'm Mike Stevens. Well, our top story this hour, the possibility of layoffs in Nassau County has been looming for several months now, but yesterday, County Executive Ed Mangano announced it looks like it may happen soon. Files One's Jackie Shutak has the story.
Up to 400 county employees could lose their jobs 2 weeks before Christmas. An additional 200 people could be demoted. We are told, however, that no police officers will be taken off the streets of Nassau County.
Yeah, I just don't know what to, I don't know what to think right now.
As county employees arrived for work Tuesday morning, many said they don't know the status of their jobs after hearing the news that the county executive is threatening 400 layoffs by December 15th.
It's the first I've heard of it. I mean, I was expecting something, but I didn't know when it was going to come out. It's just that I figured it would come out after the holidays.
Some Nassau County employees say they are still reeling from the effects of the last round of layoffs, which happened earlier this year. This time around, Nassau County Executive Ed Mangano says the only way the county can avoid 400 layoffs and 200 demotions is if union leaders concede just over $73 million by December 15th. Monday, Mangano announced that County and Nassau Interim Finance Authority officials asked union officials to contribute voluntary savings through negotiations. But union leaders are crying foul, explaining that their members will not concede to having their salaries slashed.
And that comes to about $12,000 per member, per employee, and our average salary is under $60,000 a year. So you're talking over 20%.
Ryan Mulholland is with the Civil Service Employees Association, one of several unions involved in the negotiations. Mulholland says 6,000 CSEA members could be affected by the layoffs. Mangano says there is a small window for union leaders to work with the county, but that the first round of layoffs will be activated by legislation if both sides can't come to an agreement. Mulholland says union leaders will keep talking with Mangano, seeking creative solutions, but the current concessions, he says, are just too high. According to Newsday, Nassau faces a $310 million deficit for fiscal year 2012. Reportedly, the layoffs would affect many departments, including social services, police, and public works. Mangano adds that an additional $75 million in budget savings has to be met by February, otherwise additional cuts may occur. In Mineola, Jackie Shutak, FiOS 1 News.
Well, there is no word on exactly how many more jobs could be reduced in 2012. Hey, welcome to FiOS 1 News Midday Edition. I'm Mike Stevens. Top story this hour, getting through work could prove to be real tough today for hundreds of Nassau County workers who are expected to get pink slips today. FiOS 1's Ron Lee is outside a county office building in Mineola with more on an important deadline today that may have already helped some departing workers earn extra cash before they're let go.
The day Marianne Simano of West Hempstead has been dreading. In an effort to close a projected $310 million budget gap, Nassau County is expected to lay off roughly 300 civil service employees today, with their terminations effective immediately. Did you even consider the early separation package?
Personally, no.
The early separation package that Marianne refuses to take is only on the table through today, and it offers county workers $1,000 a year for each year of service. Marianne could have collected $15,000 as an incentive to leave. You think you might regret it at the end of the day should you get laid off?
Well, a little bit, but I'm hoping I won't get laid off. I really want to stay at least another 5 years.
Through a mandate, Nassau County ordered the Civil Service Employees Association, the county's largest union, to find $54 million in savings by the end of the year through headcount reductions, and an additional $7 million by February. The CSEA says as of Wednesday evening, 97 people had taken the early separation incentive.
We don't know how many jobs that will save, but likely it'll save more than 97 jobs because typically a lot of the people leaving are more high earners. They're towards the end of their careers. The people who are being laid off, unfortunately, today are typically more low earners, more towards the beginning of their careers.
CSEA spokesman Ryan Mulholland estimates for every person who chooses to separate, 1.5 jobs could be saved. That means out of the 300 to 350 people who will receive layoff notices today, approximately 140 could be brought back at a later date. But in a letter earlier this week, the CSEA warned members they could only take advantage of the voluntary separation incentive if they beat a different deadline. Anyone who receives a layoff notice today will no longer be eligible to sign up. Reporting from Mineola, Ron Lee, FiOS 1 News.
Well, an all-day seminar is going to be held at Nassau Community College starting at 9 a.m. Friday morning, offering services like filing for unemployment, advice on grievances, health insurance information as well. The layoffs come one day after nearly 200 workers were notified by the county that they would be demoted several pay grades. If they refused to accept the pay grade, county officials would terminate their employment.
Despite the rise in prescription drug addiction and crimes related to it, one hospital wants to close down its detox center. FiOS 1 News reporter Ron Lee is in East Meadow with why some believe that's a bad idea.
Though nothing has been voted on, Nassau University Medical Center is toying with the idea of closing its inpatient detox center, which has 20 beds. It's a proposal, however, that does not have the support of some Long Island drug experts and union leaders.
We have about 10 or 12 workers who work in the detox unit there, but it's more than that. It's really an issue of the uninsured and underinsured people of this county.
A spokesman for the Civil Service Employees Association says it would be a big mistake for Nassau's only public hospital to force patients who need the services most to seek help outside the hospital.
You go there for 3 hours a day to an outpatient program, and then you get to go back out and you go home and you can then make a phone call and you can use drugs or alcohol again, and that's something that the inpatient program would not allow you to do.
The president and chief executive of Nassau University Medical Center disagrees. In a statement, Arthur Gianelli says there is no scholarly evidence to support the claim that inpatient addiction services are superior to outpatient care. Some drug experts.
News Evening Edition.
Hi, I'm Mike Stevens. Welcome to FiOS 1 News. Our top story this hour, Nassau County Executive Ed Mangano and the Civil Service Employees Association have announced an agreement that would allow thousands of county workers as many as 60 unpaid days for a year. FiOS 1's Carolyn Fortuna is outside the county's executive office with details.
More than 5,000 Nassau County workers will be able to take 60 unpaid volunteer furlough days in the county's attempt to close a multi-million-dollar budget gap.
Well, obviously here in county government we have some jobs that are busier in the winter months than they are in the summer, and some are busier in the summer months than they are in the winter. This gives the opportunity for the county to save dollars during the cyclical lows in certain jobs that are performed here, and provide a savings to the taxpayer. It's good for us, it's good for our taxpayer, and it's good for obviously our employees.
The program will be offered to full-time union employees who can take up to 20 consecutive days off at a time. County Executive Mangano and the Civil Service Employees Association reached the agreement to prevent future layoffs. Union representatives are hopeful that some members will take advantage of the program.
I think we will find some people who will be interested, but there are also a lot of people hurting out there right now. We have a wage freeze in for the last year and a half. A lot of people are, working paycheck to paycheck, and they're not going to be able to take advantage of that. We understand that. We've heard that already. But, in the past few hours that we had this agreement out and we've been getting phone calls, some people have shown interest.
In addition to the furlough program, Mangano announced additional cuts this week, including 100 worker layoffs, early retirement incentives, and cuts to major public works projects. But Mangano says he is hopeful that these programs will create the extra savings the county needs.
Obviously, we have addressed the deficit with other cost-cutting measures. This is an added bonus. It'll help us, generate some additional savings, unanticipated savings, and that's really what this.
A new controversial decision allows Nassau County Executive Ed Mangano to take any action necessary to create up to $40 million in savings for the county. FiOS 1's Ron Lee is in Mineola with more on the concerns of workers and the impact it could have on county services.
In an unusual and unprecedented decision, Republican legislators approved a measure that gives Nassau County Executive Ed Mangano the power to come up with $40 million in budget cuts without legislative approval. Do you think people are nervous upstairs?
Yeah, nervous downstairs too.
James Goodwine has held a temp job in the county's Public Works Department a little less than a year. If Mangano makes good on threats to furlough non-essential employees and to close non-essential county offices every Monday, Goodwine fears many workers who are struggling to make ends meet will face even more of a crunch. Even though it sounds nice to have a day off, if you're not getting paid for it, it's not so nice, huh?
Nah, no, it's not.
Not ready to go down without a fight, leaders with the Civil Service Employees Association are seeking a temporary restraining order today and a preliminary injunction in U.S. District Court. The CSEA is hoping to protect the estimated 6,000 workers it represents in Nassau County.
It can't just always be on the workforce when it's a $40 million hole or an $80 million hole or a $150 million hole like it's been in the past. There's got to be other ways to balance the budget, and there are.
The county executive has said these measures would not have been necessary if Democrats had voted to approve a measure that would have allowed the county to pay off nearly $41 million in property tax refunds through bonding reform. Democrats, however, refused to cross party lines, a jump that would have given Mangano the 3 votes he needed for the required supermajority.
That's terrible. My son works for the county, and he's worried about it, too.
Mary from Bayville believes her son, who was in public works, lives paycheck to paycheck. To help workers who may be at risk, the CSEA is hoping a federal judge grants its request for a restraining order by the end of the day. In Mineola, Ron Lee, FiOS 1 News.
There is still a chance that this power struggle could be resolved outside of court. Democrats say the deal still needs to be approved by the Nassau Interim Finance Authority, or NIFA.